if you can't overcome that emotion, then you'll never be able to open your heart. So do you want love in your life or not? Forgiveness then, and we've discovered this, forgiveness is when you overcome the emotion of your past and you no longer have your attention on that person or that experience any longer, right? And so you feel so good that you no longer want to feel bad, right? And so you free yourself from that belief and you free that person as well, or the experience. And literally that's energy that's liberated as information that the body can actually use to create with, right? So I think there's information and knowledge that just has to be given to people for them to understand, okay, justified or not, valid or not. The only person that this really is affecting is me. They went on with their life. They started a new career. They're living in a new place. They're writing a book. They're on their way. And you're holding yourself hostage to the past. The way we make memories is from emotions. So if you have an event in your life that's highly traumatic, just as an example, the moment you perceive that event in your life through your senses, the chemical information that's coming back as information to your body is telling you to be altered. So once you begin to change your internal state, the greater the change in your internal state from its normal continuity, the more the brain freezes a frame and takes a snapshot. And that's called the long-term memory. So then the person thinks neurologically within the circuitry of that experience, and they feel within the boundaries of the emotions of that experience. Every time they review the event in their mind, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event was occurring. So again, the body's reliving the trauma 50 to 100 times in the day, and now the trauma is no longer in the brain, the trauma is emotionally conditioned in the body, right? So if you say to the person, why are you so bitter? Why are you so sad? Why are you so unhappy? They'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 10 years ago. Which what they're really saying is, after that event, I changed and I have not been able to change since this event. Well, the research on memory says that if you ask that person that story of the actual account, 50% of that story is no longer the truth. In other words, they're embellishing the story so they can excuse themselves. They're making it worse. They're making the conditions worse. They're telling the story and they're embellishing it to some degree to excuse themselves from changing, right? So if 50% of that story isn't even the truth, they're reliving a miserable life they never even had, all to reaffirm their addiction to that emotional state. So here's the crazy part, because we work with veterans and Navy SEALs, and can you then forget about the memory and just overcome the emotion? Because the memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. And now you no longer belong to the past. You're ready to create a new future. And so the stories we tell about our past are only stories we tell when we feel those emotions. We would never tell that story when we feel a different emotion.
Why?
Because the person's feeling that emotion, and that emotion is the record of the memory chemically. So they're telling the story because they can't think greater than that feeling. Feelings have become the means of thinking. But what if you told a different story? And that's exactly what we teach people to do. Stop romancing your past, start romancing your future. Stop telling the story of your past, start telling the story of your future. Stop believing in your past, start believing in a new future. And that process is an unlearning and a relearning process. It's literally breaking the habit of being yourself and reinventing a new self. It's pruning synaptic connections, it's sprouting new connections, it's unfiring, it's unwiring, it's refiring, it's rewiring, it's deprogramming, it's reprogramming. It's losing your mind and creating a new one. It's unmemorizing emotions that are stored in the body and then reconditioning the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. And so what happens in this immersive experience when we do our week-long events is we take the person right to that point of that emotion where they say, I gotta go, this is too uncomfortable. And we don't want them to white knuckle it there. We give them something to do. And if they practice that formula and they keep lowering the volume to that emotion, sooner or later, the body becomes liberated. How do you stay out of survival? Because living in stress is living in survival. And stress is created when you can't predict something, you can't control something, or you have the perception that something's going to get worse. And there's an alarm system that immediately is built into our biology that causes us to get prepared for that threat or that danger. And that arousal then is an awakening, and the brain goes into the super alert state. And when we're in that state, now all of our attention is on our body, all of our attention is on our environment, all of our attention is on time, separation. There's no easy answer for the person who's lost everything except get over the emotion. Because if you can't get over the emotion, you can't get past that problem. And justified or not, valid or not, the only person that those chemicals, those emotions are hurting are you. And it's dysregulating your autonomic nervous system. And people become addicted to the arousal of those emotions. And just like anything, you can have a bad trip or an overdose, and you could actually knock your brain and body out of balance just by thinking. Literally, you become addicted to your own thoughts. And so when they start changing and the body's craving those familiar emotions, the body starts signaling the brain, of memories, or to think certain ways and to make certain choices, do certain things, crave certain experiences just to feel that same emotion. And people say, well, this feels right. No, that feels familiar. That really feels familiar. And many people will tell the story of why they feel that way based on some past experience. And it's usually not in the recent past. It's usually many years ago.
Like a toxic relationship or something.
Whatever that is. And so they're basically saying, I had an event in my life, and since that event, I'm still living by the same emotion, and I haven't been able to change. And the long-term effects of that push the genetic buttons that create disease.
So thinking influences our genetics, which could either create disease or could create healing.
That's exactly what we discovered. We discovered that if you teach a person how to stop thinking that way and producing those feelings, you're no longer weakening the body by your own thinking. Those emotions that you're feeling, like anger and aggression and frustration and impatience and fear and anxiety and resentment and jealousy and envy and insecurity, guilt and shame, hopelessness, powerlessness, all of those emotions are the emotions that are derived from the hormones of stress. The biological effects keep every cell in the body in an emergency mode. Every cell is squandering all of its energy for the threat or danger in its outer world. So keep that up for a period of time, there's no energy to heal. There's no energy to create. There's no energy for long-term building projects in the body, because when you're living in emergency, it's not a time to create. So the body begins to break down. So breaking that conditioning process and having a person sit with themselves for a period of time where they're not thinking about their cell phone or their TikTok or their social media or their texts, and they get beyond all the people in their life, all the things that they have to think about, all the places they need to go. If they can quiet down their brain and stop thinking in that way, after a period of time, their biology begins to change, and they naturally no longer activate those same hormonal centers that make them feel those emotions. And if they inhibit that, energy actually naturally moves into their heart. It just goes right up in there, and the heart's the creative center. And the heart, the moment energy moves into the heart, it starts beating orderly instead of disorderly. When it's in stress, it's resentment and patience, just beating disorderly. Now the heart can beat. Now it's got energy, and it begins to inform the brain. It resets the baseline in the chemical brain, the limbic brain. It tells the brain the trauma's over, its past is over, and it tells the brain to create. Stop living in survival now, start creating. And the person starts thinking in different brainwave patterns. They're naturally creative. Turns out if you do that for a period of time, you can upregulate genes, just like you downregulated genes from feeling those other emotions. Trade those emotions for those elevated emotions, and you actually change your gene expression ahead of the environment. And if the environment signals the gene, and it does, and the end product of an experience in an environment is an emotion, and you're feeling that emotion, you're signaling genes ahead of your environment. And the body's literally changing in that moment. Do that for 7 days, and your body will look like it's living in a whole new environment. So then, if a person is sitting in meditation and they start thinking about their enemy, or they start thinking about their coworker, or start thinking about their cell phone, they're not in the present moment, right? Or what happened yesterday, or what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. And this is the disentangling from the program. So if a person can catch themselves going unconscious, we discovered that the only way you actually become conscious, conscious, is to catch yourself enough times going unconscious that you no longer go unconscious to I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change. You've confronted it enough times, you're aware of it enough times that voice or that thought has no power over you any longer. And this is where people usually rather get up and turn the TV on, right, than sit in that discomfort. So when the body gets agitated, when the body gets impatient, when the body gets frustrated, when the body wants to get up and do something, it's programmed to do that, and you're sitting in a meditation and you notice you're getting agitated, instead of saying, I can't meditate, you bring that body right back into the present moment and you lower the volume to that emotion, you take your attention off that problem. That's the victory. That's change right there. That's worth more than all the gold in the world. And if you're doing it when you understand the what and the why, you assign meaning to the act. And when you do that, you switch on your prefrontal cortex, and that's the boss in the brain, and it wants an outcome. And that's called intention. And it's kind of interesting because this is the last point about why we use meditation around the idea of change, to be greater than the environment, to be greater than the body, and now to be greater than time. Because if you're feeling the same feelings and you're thinking thoughts that are memories from the past, that's familiar. That's the familiar past. If you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen and you can predict what a person's going to do, if it's predictable because they're habituated, that's the known too. That's the predictable future. So if the familiar past is the known and the predictable future is the known, there's only one place left where the unknown exists, and that's the present moment, right? And we got to labor for that present moment, and it takes a day or two to get beyond yourself. But the moment the person can finally relax into the unknown, and they can relax into the present moment, there's a dramatic physiological shift that goes on. The field around the body starts to build. Why? Because if you're no longer putting your attention on your enemy and you're lowering the volume of that emotion over and over again, you're going to forget about them. And you're going to call energy back to you. And now there's energy to heal. And now there's energy to create, right? And energy naturally moves out of these lower hormonal centers and naturally moves right into the heart. And a person can actually relax into the present moment by relaxing into their heart. If you can do that enough times, the heart all of a sudden tells the brain, hey, the past is over, the trauma is over, the betrayal is over, and it resets the baseline in the brain so that the person's no longer interested in the past. The heart has actually taken the body out of the past into the present moment. So then when a person's in that state, the heart in and of itself, when it's activated like that, gets super organized, it gets coherent, and it sends a signal to the brain, literally in the form of information to tell the brain, the survival system, to shut down, that the amygdala, literally, the lights go out. It resets the baseline for the trauma in the brain, and the body moves out of survival. And now it wants to create, and the heart informs the brain to get creative, and the brain goes into these beautiful, organized alpha brainwave patterns. And as you put yourself into the scene, into the equation, you begin to mentally rehearse your actions. The action of mental rehearsal begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain, so you are primed for the experience. You have the circuits in place to use when you get in that scene. And now your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's in fact a map to the future. And as you do this over and over again, remembering who you no longer want to be and remembering who you do want to be, you begin to change on a biological level. And if you do it properly and you get your behaviors to match your intentions and your actions equal to your thoughts, and you walk into that scene with your physical body,
and you would do exactly what the book said or the lecturer said, and you forgive that person, the side effect of that is you are going to feel love. You are going to feel compassion. You are going to open your heart and feel an elevated emotion. And now you're beginning to embody that philosophy. You got to be able to replicate that action over and over again until you neurochemically condition your mind and body to become compassion. Now, no person, no thing, no situation in your external environment will move you from that internal state.
So what is that point then for a person when they say, the only person that this emotion of hatred or anger or frustration or resentment, the only person that this is hurting is me? Because those chemicals are down-regulating genes and creating disease. And the person finally really realizes that, and they really decide to change. When they overcome the emotion, the memory without the emotion is called wisdom. And that's the name of the game in three-dimensional reality. Now they're ready for a new experience. It's not reliving the past. You don't need to. You don't need to talk about it. All you need to do is overcome the emotion. When you overcome the emotion, you're free from the past. You can see it from a greater level of consciousness. And that's when a person, so many times when they truly change, they'll say this. We've seen it over and over again. They reach that point where they finally break through, and some of them have had some really difficult pasts. They'll say, I would not want to change one thing in my past because it brought me to this moment. That's the moment the past no longer exists. And they can look at their betrayers and see it all had to happen for that moment. And now they're free. They no longer belong to the past, they belong to the future.